Everyone in this room has ever sponsored anyone, has kept our movement alive. We have over 3,000 Cursillistas in our database going back to the 1970s. The goal is to keep people involved, so we have 200 plus at Altreyas and School of Leaders. This starts with each of us in the room committing to develop candidates that become committed sponsors and revitalize ourselves to be a lifelong sponsor. So I'm Julie Goshi-Stallions. I'm the Pre-Cursillo chair right now for the San Jose English-speaking Cursillo movement. Go to the next slide, please. Yeah. So the Cursillo community would not exist if we were not continually welcoming new members through the experience of a Cursillo weekend. The way the community grows is for our newest members to become active in this ministry, to live out our motto, make a friend, be a friend, bring a friend to Christ. How do we find candidates? In many cases, they find us. We will be sharing the love of our own experience of Cursillo, and we hear, I want some of that. Or, I want an even closer walk with Christ. This opens the door for exploring the individual's readiness to receive this gift called Cursillo. I'll use myself as an example of being asked at the wrong time and how that turned into being the right time. When my sponsor originally asked me, rather told me that I needed Cursillo, it was coming after recently getting divorced, splitting assets, and still trying to balance the custody visitations. She would never really tell me anything about what happened, just that it would change my life. My life had already changed enough, I was thinking. I was also traveling for work, so balancing my work travel and the weekends that I had my kids caused more anxiety than joy of welcoming this weekend into my life. She kept asking, I kept saying no. However, with each no, I was able to get a little more information about what the whole weekend was about. It was not until I felt God calling me did I say yes. Had my sponsor just signed me up and dragged me up on the hill, I might have left midway through the weekend, which did happen recently, or perhaps felt the weekend was too liberal for my conservative Catholic beliefs, which has also happened, or particularly because my spouse made me. Again, this happens. Evaluating whether people are in their walk of life secularly or spiritually is important. Now, for some of you, I'm preaching to the choir. Your candidate has become active in Cursillo or have taken their gifts they received from particularly greatly enriched the ministries they called to find new ways to serve the greater community and God. So let's look at the aspects that we should consider when we're going to ask somebody to be a candidate, and how well do we know this person? We should be asking, where are they with their walk with Jesus, especially as a Catholic? Have they committed to religious life? Yes. Bring priests, deacons, and sisters to a weekend. Are they active in their church? In the church, are they lukewarm? Do they go to church regularly? Are they CEOs, meaning Christmas and Easter only? Or simply fallen away? How would this weekend bring them closer to Christ? Are they Protestant? Because there are Protestant weekends available, and Secretariat can help them find one if that's a better fit for them. Are they simply just looking for more? I want what you have. Or are they preparing, starting RCIA? Is this something that's going to enrich them and bring them closer to Christ and finish the process? Next slide. Another thing to consider when you're talking to candidates, finding out if they're ready to be on a weekend, is where are they, is the format of the weekend fitting for them? How mature is that person? Will the conversation at the table be meaningful for them? And will they even be able to participate? What are their physical limitations? Walking, sitting, medication, required periods of rest. Because many physical limitations can be overcome through proper planning of the team. It's when those limitations will not allow participation in the talks and the meditations, or needing extra rest if they're recently gone through some sort of treatment or surgery. So those are things to consider. Next slide. Where are they emotionally? As for me, I had recently lingering emotions that may not have allowed me to fully experience the weekend. So are there things going on in their lives that would prevent them from experiencing all the wonderful love that they would be receiving? And the timing of the weekend. Can the candidate be fully present the Thursday night through the Sunday evening? What other obligations would distract the candidate from being there and not being fully present? And would there be financial concerns? Now, these are a lot of considerations when seeking out candidates in our current community. Talking to people about Cursillo really is a year-long conversation. The Secretariat accepts applications at any time. It doesn't have to be just before a weekend. In fact, this Secretariat member would enjoy getting applications other times of the year except right before a weekend, especially for the men. Hint, hint. Okay. So now let's transition from talking about the person moving into their third day and then their fourth day. Sponsorship. Sponsorship starts at the moment when you know that that person you're talking to is ready to be a candidate. But before I start talking about those responsibilities of being a sponsor, let's talk a little bit about the sponsor themselves and how you can be prepared by waiting a year to be a sponsor. And why we ask that is so you as a new Cursillista can become more fully ingrained in the community by joining a fourth day, to attend Altreas and attending School of Leaders. And so you can then emulate what the life of a Cursillista looks like, so then you can be able to gift that back. Also, support the teachings of the Catholic Church. As I mentioned earlier, this is a Catholic weekend, so knowing the Mass and the sacraments and knowing how your candidate is experiencing those is important as well, and that you're experiencing them in case there's questions. And then also, if you're a team member, to find a co-sponsor, because if you're on the team, you're not going to be able to take care of some of those responsibilities that I'll outline in a few minutes. So sponsorship is a long-term commitment. These responsibilities never really end. And so what do I mean by that? Sponsoring is not just a one and done event. It's not just picking up your candidate, getting them something to eat, dropping them off and picking them up and taking them to potluck. It goes beyond that. So here are some of the responsibilities to consider when becoming becoming a sponsor. Do I embody the Cursillo movement and the teachings of the Catholic Church? Am I available before, during, and after the year after the weekend? So for before, let's go over some of those things for before. Are you going to be able to answer the questions about the weekend? And if you're not, the Pre-Cursillo chair and the Secretariat's here to help you with those. Explain to the candidate that this is renewing their commitment in Christ and bringing them closer. To clear your calendar to be able to fully participate during the weekend. Prepare your palanca for you, from you, and the candidate's family, friends, and church. And if you're a team member, to find a co-sponsor. During the weekend, the responsibility of the sponsors to care for that candidate's family and their pets and make sure that they feel secure while they're there, that they have no outside worries. To participate on Thursday evening by dropping off and staying through all the activities that a sponsor's asked to stay through. Pray regularly for that candidate and the success of the weekend. Come to Mañanitas. Come to Clausura. And then take your candidate to potluck, making sure ahead of time that you have seats saved and somebody's got you covered. And then afterwards, and this is the bigger one, because your emulation and bringing that candidate with you to attending all the Altreas, not just the ones that are sponsored by the particular weekend your candidate was on. Help them find a fourth day. Even invite them to your fourth day if your fourth day is open to that. Attend School of Leaders like you're doing now, because that knowledge that comes out of School of Leaders ends to knowing more about Cursillo and the movement. Write Palanca for the next weekend with your new Cursillista. Attend the next weekend's Mañanitas and potluck and encourage them to make a friend, be a friend, and bring a friend to Christ. Again, sponsorship should be a continuation in a relationship with your candidate, now a new Cursillista, which will keep them involved in building community. Okay, so now you found your candidate, you know what the responsibilities of sponsorship is, and now let's talk a little bit about the application.